Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Tahnie Nolenberger, owner of Ivy Weddings and Events here in San Diego, California. And if you're new here, we dive into the wonderful world of weddings every Tuesday at noon. And our next topic, I've just been getting a lot of emails about it and questions. So I want to dedicate this episode to that. And that is, my friends, how to plan your elopement. With COVID-19 not going anywhere anytime soon, many of our couples are deciding to elope right now. To elope. Oh, and by the way, yes, I am wearing fake eyelashes and I absolutely love them. So I might wear them every episode, just so you know. All right, back to elopement planning. So like I said, kind of with this pandemic going on, especially in California, couples haven't been able to have that large wedding that they've been planning for and dreaming of. So they've been opting to elope. And if you joined me last week, we talked into just different ways to plan your wedding if you can't have that big wedding ceremony and reception. And there are so many ways to do it right now. Still, love is not canceled. But let's first dive into what the heck an elopement is, right? In past times, back in the day, an elopement was running away with your partner and getting married in secrecy behind your friends and family. Fast forward to modern times, it's really just opting to skip a formal ceremony and reception and having a very small wedding ceremony celebration. There's no cap, I would say, or minimum of what an elopement is, but in my personal opinion, let's just say I think 15 guests and under is really considered an elopement. Any more than that could be considered a very intimate wedding or micro wedding, but I think for an elopement, 15 people and under is just the perfect amount to celebrate with. So the big question, why elope, right? Well, there's so many different reasons why you can choose to elope with your fiance. And, one of those big reasons is there could be a pandemic going on in the world that many counties and statewide, it really differs right now, but they could be implementing certain rules that will not allow you to have a larger gathering at this time, as it is the case in California, unfortunately. Another reason to elope is that maybe your families don't approve of your union and you still love each other and you actually do want to get married in secrecy. That is certainly a way to go about unionizing your marriage. Budget constraints, eloping is a far cheaper option to plan your marriage than having a formal, larger ceremony and reception. So that is, I would say, huge, and a lot of the times one of the majority of reasons why couples choose to elope. Family planning is another big one. Perhaps you are eager to start a family, or you have already started a family and you want to legally get married before that next step in your life occurs. That is certainly understandable. That is what I did. I didn't necessarily elope, but I had a smaller, intimate micro wedding of 40 people because our family planning started a little earlier than we anticipated. We were planning that big wedding, but it just was the right decision for us at the time. There are legal reasons to elope. Many couples opt to elope perhaps to speed up their citizenship in another country. But whatever the reason is for you and your partner to decide to elope, I suggest, starting by writing a pro and con list. You write a pro and con list, your partner writes a pro and con list, and then sit down with each other and compare your lists. Honestly, you guys, once you decide to elope, say it in confidence. You may get pushback from your family, your friends, your coworkers, people. Why are you eloping? Or why did you decide to do that? You don't need to give them a reason. Eloping should be a decision that you guys want to do, not something you have to do. So make that decision confidently and stand your ground and make sure it's what makes you happiest at the end of the day. Okay, so we decided to elope. This is my adventurous elopement hat. So how the heck do we plan an elopement, right? Obviously pick a date. Could be the middle of the week, weekend, whatever date it is. Make sure next up you choose your location. So choose the location you want to elope in. I think many couples, because an elopement involves such fewer people, whether it's 15 people, 10 people, or maybe it's just you, your partner, and your photographer, your officiant, maybe, whoever that group is in this elopement journey, a lot of couples decide to kind of have a adventurous elopement. You know, whether you want to hike to the top of Yosemite Mountain, is that a mountain? Whether you want to hike to the top of Yosemite or you want to live on the edge literally and get married on Sunset Cliffs here in San Diego, whatever your adventure is, make sure you plan that ahead of time. You definitely want to choose your photographer ahead of time. Whether you're planning an elopement in 1 week or 6 months from now, make sure you lock in someone that you really, really love and their pricing works for you. Also, along with your photographer, definitely choose a vendor team. If you are going somewhere, say out of town, out of state, I suggest always choosing vendors that work locally. They're definitely going to be your best bet when it comes to making recommendations or reservations. Say if you have a planner you're working with, of local things to do. The best restaurants if you want something Italian, if you need transportation to get from A to B in the town you're staying in, certain places to book your accommodations, if you want a hotel that's right by the ocean, or if you want something that's more away from the city, your local vendors are definitely going to be the best people to help you plan your elopement. I cannot emphasize this next step enough, that you need to do research of how to obtain your marriage license. Whether you are getting your marriage license in your hometown or you're getting your license in the place you plan to elope, every county is different. Check your local county clerk's office if you need an appointment, or you could just do a walk-in. You are going to want to make those arrangements ahead of time. Don't quote me on this, but I think in Colorado you can solemnize your own marriage. So all you need is you, yourself, and maybe your photographer. That's crazy. That's wild. So you always want to check your local county clerk's office. This is also a big one. Check for permits. If you are eloping in, say, a national park, oftentimes you're going to need a permit to take photos in the park. You're going to need a permit to actually get married in the park. So that's something you need to do research ahead of time, and you're going to have to probably pay fees. So you want to consider that in your budget, which brings me to my next point. Have a budget when you are planning an elopement. Just because it is a smaller celebration, it doesn't mean you should just kind of wing it and pull out your credit card. You always want to have a budget when you're planning for any type of event. That is really, really important, and you want to try to keep within that budget. Because if you have a budget of a certain amount and you start doing research in a place you really want to elope in and it's this amount, it may not be the best place for you. And so it's really important to keep in mind, you want to have something that you can afford and not break the bank with, whatever that affordability is, and make sure you're having an amazing time while doing it so you're not feeling stressed out. This is also a big one, but seems really obvious. Check the weather report. Depending on the season you're getting married in and the place you're getting married, it's always better to be prepared. It never hurts to be over prepared for anything. So if you're going to Kauai for an elopement celebration and it's going to have a thunderstorm that day, it's good to probably check that, because what if it blocks the path and the trail to the hike you're going to go on? Those are just things to consider. Don't just wing it. Make sure you do plan ahead of time. Also, kind of to trail on that, is to plan your attire. And what I mean by that, like, of course you're going to know what you're going to wear, right? Well, you want to plan ahead of time, because say if you are hiking, into your ceremony location, make sure you bring comfortable shoes and then change into your shoes that you want to be photographed in, and then bring comfortable clothes. You don't want to hike in your wedding dress if it's a 5-hour hike, or your tuxedo, and it be kind of like super dirty, unless you're going for that kind of organic look. You want it to look nice and pristine for your photos when you get to the top. And then if you want to hike back down in it, go ahead, darling. But I always suggest kind of bringing a change of clothes and packing your nice ones in and saving it for wherever that location may be. This next one might be a surprise to you, but create a timeline. You guys know how I love my timelines, but this is also very, very important because if you have a vendor team, say if you have hair and makeup because you're getting ready and then you are driving 2 hours to your destination ceremony location and it takes 5 hours to hike to the top and you only have 2 hours before sunset to take those golden hour photos, you're gonna want to plan all this ahead of time and make sure you're not hiking the back on your trail in the middle of the night. So always create a timeline and hand it out to whoever you're working with that day so everyone is on the same page and the end goal is the same. That's always important to over communicate what your expectations are and make sure to plan ahead and create those timelines. So that is it, my friends. It seems pretty simple. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Ready to start planning your elopement? Call me. But in the meantime, stay creative and be legendary.